Welcome back. Up to now, we've spent a lot of time on your inner world, your joy, your energy, your strengths, your career capital. That work is essential, but Ikigai isn't just about you. It's about the relationship between you and the world. In this lesson, video 10 in our course on Ikigai, we're going to focus on one of the most important and sometimes uncomfortable questions in this whole process. What does the world actually need? We'll look at how to spot real needs instead of guessing, how to frame problems in a way that invites useful solutions, and how aligning your strengths with genuine needs creates real value, the kind of value people are grateful for and often willing to reward. Let's start with a simple distinction. There's a big difference between what I feel like doing and what the world needs. Both matter. Your desires matter. But if you want your work to have impact and to be sustainable, it has to connect to needs beyond your own. At the same time, what the world needs is not just some huge abstract list of global problems like climate change or inequality. It can be very concrete and local. It might be what your specific community needs, what people in your industry need, or what a particular group of people you care about needs. So, how do you begin to see these needs clearly? One of the best starting points is to pay attention to frustration. Frustration is often a signal that something in a system is not working well for someone. Think about the people around you, friends, colleagues, clients, family. What do they complain about repeatedly? What do they say is confusing, overwhelming, or unfair? What do they wish was easier? These frustrations often point directly to potential needs. For example, you might hear small business owners talk about how overwhelmed they feel with finances, marketing, or hiring. You might hear parents talk about feeling guilty and exhausted, trying to balance work and family. You might hear young professionals talk about being lost in their careers. You might hear older people talk about loneliness or feeling left behind by technology. At this stage, you're not trying to fix anything yet. You're just listening. You're treating other people's frustrations as valuable data, just like you treated your own joy and energy as data. Another way to spot needs is to look at gaps. Where are people falling through the cracks in systems you know well? Where are there no good options? Or where the existing options are poorly designed, confusing, or inaccessible? For instance, maybe you notice that in your industry, there's a lot of training for beginners, but almost nothing for people at an intermediate level. Or you see that in your local community, there are programs for children and seniors, but very little for people in the middle of life transitions. Or you see that a lot of advice online is generic, but people with specific constraints or backgrounds are underserved. Those gaps are invitations. Now here's a crucial point from your manuscript. Real needs are not what you assume people need. They're what you discover when you listen deeply. It's easy to project your own ideas onto others. You might think, what people really need is X, because that's what you needed in your own journey. Sometimes you'll be right, but often there's more nuance. That's why, in later lessons, we'll talk about empathy interviews and the jobs to be done idea, practices for actually talking to people and hearing their stories. But even before you do formal interviews, you can begin shifting from assumption to curiosity. Instead of saying, I know what they need, try asking, what are they trying to accomplish? What's getting in their way? How does it feel for them? That mindset change alone will make you far more effective at creating value. Let's connect this to the Ikigai framework. Imagine a person who's good at a particular skill and enjoys using it. Maybe they're a great teacher or a skilled designer or a thoughtful listener. If they only ever ask, what do I feel like doing? They might end up pursuing projects that are fun for them but don't really address any need. That's the beautiful poverty trap we talked about earlier. Lots of passion and skill, not much need or reward. Now imagine they start looking outward. They notice that a particular group of people is struggling with a problem that their strengths could help solve. They listen. They understand the frustration and the desired outcome. They use their skills to design a solution that meets that need. Suddenly, their work is not just personally meaningful, it's deeply useful. People value it, talk about it, and often are willing to pay for it. That's the shift from, I want to express myself, to, I want to serve in a way that also expresses who I am. It's a subtle but powerful difference. Let's make this more practical with a simple exercise from the spirit of creating value that matters in your manuscript. Pick one group of people you feel some natural concern or curiosity about. It could be people like you at a certain stage of life, mid-career professionals, new parents, recent graduates, retirees. It could be people in a certain profession or industry. It could be people going through a specific kind of challenge, health issues, career transitions, identity shifts, creative blocks, and so on. Once you have a group in mind, ask yourself 3 questions. First, what are they trying to do? What goals or outcomes do they care about? Second, what's hard about that for them? What obstacles, frustrations, or fears do they face? Third, how would their life be different if those obstacles were reduced or removed? Answer these questions as best you can, based on what you know or have observed. You might write something like, mid-career professionals are trying to figure out what to do next without blowing up their lives. It's hard because they have responsibilities, they're afraid of losing status or income, and they don't see clear paths. If those obstacles were reduced, they'd feel more confident making changes and less trapped in misaligned careers. Or, small nonprofit leaders are trying to tell their stories in a way that attracts support. It's hard because they're overwhelmed, they don't have marketing training, and they feel uncomfortable promoting themselves. If those obstacles were removed, they'd raise more money, reach the people they want to help, and feel more hopeful. These are rough sketches, but they already point toward needs: confidence, guidance, structure, clear communication, support. Now, bring your strengths and capital back into the picture. Ask yourself, where do my strengths overlap with these needs? What kinds of problems here could I genuinely help with? Maybe your strengths in simplifying complex ideas, combined with your experience in a certain domain, make you well suited to create clear guides, workshops, or coaching for that group. Maybe your ability to listen deeply and ask good questions would be valuable in helping them clarify their goals and fears. Maybe your organizational skills could help them design better systems. This is where Ikigai starts to become very concrete. You're not just thinking about what you like. You're looking for where your strengths and your care intersect with real needs. There's another layer to what the world needs that's important to name: your own resonance. Not every need in the world is your need to address. You might see real problems that, for whatever reason, don't move you. That's okay. Your Ikigai will grow where there is both a real need and a genuine pull in you to help. Think of it this way: there are infinite fires burning in the world. You are one person with particular strengths, history, and bandwidth. Your job is not to put out every fire. Your job is to find the fires where your water, your tools, and your desire line up. So, as you're scanning for needs, pay attention to your body and emotions. Which problems make you feel a tug in your chest? Which stories stick with you? Which frustrations make you think, I can't stop thinking about this? Those are clues. This brings us to a subtle but powerful shift, from self-focused purpose to connected purpose. Self-focused purpose asks, what work will make me feel fulfilled? Connected purpose asks, where can I contribute in a way that feels fulfilling and genuinely helps others? The difference is that in connected purpose, your fulfillment is linked to your impact. You're not chasing a private sense of meaning disconnected from anyone else's reality. You're seeking meaning through contribution. That's where creating value that matters comes in. Value is not just what you think is valuable. It's what others find helpful enough that it changes their life in some small or large way. To move this further from theory and into your life, I'd encourage you to do a little need mapping exercise after this video. On a page, write down 3 groups of people you feel drawn toward right now. For each group, jot down what they're trying to achieve, what seems hardest for them, how they might describe their frustration in their own words, not in abstract jargon. You can base this on conversations you've had, things you've seen online, questions people ask you, or your own past experiences. Then, next to each group, write down 1 or 2 ways your existing strengths could help even a tiny bit. Don't worry about making it perfect or comprehensive. Just look for any overlap between what they need and what I can do. For example, you might end up with something like, Group, Mid-career professionals stuck in roles they've outgrown. They're trying to figure out a next move that doesn't wreck their lives. Hard because they're scared, confused, overloaded with responsibilities. My possible contribution: help them clarify their values and strengths through structured questions and reflections. Or group, small nonprofits trying to communicate their mission. They're trying to get donors and volunteers to understand why their work matters. Hard because they don't have time or marketing language. My possible contribution: help them shape their stories and messaging in plain language. These overlaps between needs and your possible contributions are seeds for your Ikigai experiments later on. Notice what we haven't done yet. We haven't designed full programs. We haven't priced anything. We haven't promised to solve gigantic issues. We're still in the phase of seeing clearly. Clarity about needs is the foundation on which everything else will rest. In upcoming lessons, when we talk about empathy interviews, you'll learn how to go from these rough sketches to much more detailed, real-world understanding by actually talking to people and hearing their lived experiences. You'll move from "I think they need" to "here's how they describe their situation in their own words." That will in turn make your future offers, whether they're jobs you apply for, services you provide, products you create, or projects you propose, far more resonant and effective. To close this video, I want to highlight a beautiful paradox in this whole journey. When people first start thinking about purpose, it often feels very self-focused. What do I want? What is my passion? What's my calling? That's understandable. You're trying to get away from a life that doesn't fit. But as your understanding of Ikigai deepens, something shifts. You realize that your deepest sense of fulfillment doesn't come from serving yourself alone. It comes from bringing your whole self, your joys, your strengths, your history, into service of something larger. That larger doesn't have to be grand or flashy. It might simply be a small group of people whose lives are better because you showed up. What the world needs isn't a weight on your shoulders. It's an invitation. It's a chance to connect your story with other people's stories in a way that leaves everyone richer. So as you move forward, keep asking two questions side by side. What do I love, and what am I good at? And where does that line up with what people are actually struggling with and longing for? The space where those answers begin to overlap, that's where your Ikigai will start to take concrete form. In the next videos, we'll go deeper into listening. We'll talk about empathy interviews and the jobs to be done lens, practical tools for hearing real needs directly from the people you may one day serve. That's how we turn these early guesses into grounded understanding. For now, take a compassionate look outward. Notice the needs around you. See if you can describe them more clearly than you could yesterday. Every bit of clarity you gain there strengthens your ability to create value that truly matters, and that's a crucial step on this path. You're not alone in this. You're learning to connect your inner world with the outer world in a way that honors both. That's the heart of Ikigai. I'll see you in the next video.